Okay, so horizontal linear motion. Now, 首先 linear motion 是什么 motion in a straight line 呢？你有很多种 motion， 你有 circular motion， 你有 oscillatory motion like a pendulum swinging, that is oscillatory motion. Okay, harmonic motions, okay, curve path of that. But today we are going to look at only linear. That means straight line. You either go forward or backward. There's no turning. Because if you can turn, that means that is already two dimension. We are talking about one dimension. One dimension is like a straight line. Okay, you're only dealing with one axis like this. You either go, if I draw a line of motion, let's say this is the line of motion, you either go forward or backwards. Okay, you cannot turn left, right. So this is we call linear motion. Okay, so today we'll focus on horizontal. You have two types, horizontal 还有 vertical. Vertical motion 呢，它就是会给 gravity 影响，就很像你丢一粒球上去，然后跌下来 ，OK， 它是 affected by gravity。可是我们今天是讲 horizontal vertical， 我们下一堂课才讲 ，OK。今天我们 focus 在 horizontal， 就是它不会给 gravity 影响。You go horizontal directions, OK. Now for linear motion， 我们的 sign 要记得哦 ，plus 还有 minus，OK。Convention 我们用去右边是加，去左边是减，你也可以用相反。最重要的就是减是代表相反的方向。OK， 如果你走这边是加，这样你这边就是减。Yeah， right. So velocity. So far we have learned velocity, we have learned displacement, we have learned acceleration, we have learned time. The four quantities. Which one is the scalar? Which one is the vector? Vector is the velocity and displacement and the acceleration. These three are the vector. 所以如果我讲它是 vector， 意思说它可以是加，它可以是减。Velocity 我们 recap 一下啊，如果 velocity 是加，代表你是走向右边；如果 velocity 是减，代表你是走向左边。Displacement 如果 displacement 是加，代表什么？代表如果这个是你的 starting point， 我们的 reference point。你的 displacement 是加，就是你 currently 的 position 是在 reference point 的右手边。Let's say you are 5 meters from here, so your displacement is positive 5. If you are at the left side of the reference point, then it would be displacement of minus 5. Okay, displacement tells you where is your current position. Now let's go to acceleration. Acceleration 也可以是加减。如果 acceleration 是加，这意思说你的 acceleration 是向右边 ，OK？ 那可是你要看你走的方向是在哪里。如果你是走向右边的话哦，你的 velocity 是在右边的话，然后你的 acceleration 也是在右边，一样，这样你就是在 accelerating， 你的 velocity 在增加。Okay, acceleration 是 change in velocity. Okay, 如果我讲 acceleration of 2, then 你的 velocity 在加2。Okay, 所以0、2、4、6、8一直在增加。Now acceleration 减呢，就是说你的 acceleration 是向左边。Let's say 我是向着右边走，可是我的 acceleration 是 negative, okay, negative 2, meaning that it is pointing to the left. What does it mean? The direction of motion is not the same as the acceleration, it's opposite direction, so this means that I'm slowing down. Okay, slowing down. This is speeding up. Right? So all this we already covered in the last lesson. So if you forgot or you haven't watched, you can go back anytime. Now let's come back today. We will look at the relationship between all of this. Let's say 如果他给你 velocity 跟 acceleration 跟时间，我们要讲找 displacement， 或者如果他给你 acceleration time 跟 displacement， 我们要讲找 velocity。首先我们要先 form equation 先。Okay, now let me give you one example. Imagine we have one particle move from point A to point B. Okay, the velocity of the particle at point A may be 0 or it may not be 0. What does it mean? If the particles start moving from rest, that means the velocity of the particle is 0, right? Because you're starting from rest. But what if sometimes the particle can be moving initially before coming to point A? It can be moving from the left side to point A. And in that case, the velocity at point A is not 0 because the particle is initially moving. Okay? It's like when you're standing here, there's a motorcycle coming from that side. When a motorcycle comes and then it comes before me, I stand here and then I look at the motorcycle. Whatever is the speed of the motorcycle at that time when it reaches my line of sight, that speed, I would call it initial velocity. Again, that speed, the speed that is shown on the speedometer of the motorcycle when it comes before me, I will call that speed initial velocity. Whatever speed that it is moving at, okay, I call that initial velocity. So I write it here. So the speed started at point A is the initial velocity. 如果那个 motorcycle 是从零 rest, meaning that it is not moving initially, it started from rest, then the initial velocity is 0. If the motorcycle started moving before that, then the initial velocity can be any value. Okay, now also it all depends on the time. When do I start counting time is very important. 我几时开始算时间 ？OK， 当我 imagine 我拿一个 stopwatch， 我一按那个 stopwatch， 时间就开始算，对吗？所以我一按的那一个瞬间，它的 speed 是多少？那个我们做 initial velocity。明白啊 ？Okay, so when I press the stopwatch, whatever is the velocity, that is the initial velocity. So I will call this point A, time is 0 second. So at 0 second, the initial velocity, we use a symbol, we use a symbol U. Okay, 我们的 velocity symbol 是 V 对吗？我们 initial 我们用 U. Okay, then the particle move a certain distance, right? From A to B, there's a certain distance, but in this case, we will use displacement S. We got U as T, and then when it reaches point B, or when I stop the stopwatch, because I'm counting time, right? I stop the stopwatch, whatever is the velocity that it is moving at when I stop the stopwatch, that is the final velocity. Okay, so here, final velocity. We use a symbol V. Now, when I press the stopwatch, when I stop, right, then I have the time. I have the time taken. How much is the time taken? That is the time it takes for the particle to go from A to B. So I will call this T duration. T duration. Okay. Now, look at how many unknowns we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 unknowns. We have one more. That is the acceleration. Whatever acceleration is the object or the particle moving at, acceleration. Okay, it can be increasing speed or decreasing speed. It can be a positive acceleration or a negative acceleration. This one also we include this. How many quantities total? 5 quantities. Okay, 5个 quantities. 这5个 quantity 呢，我们把它做成一个 equation. OK， 我们不需要知道怎样拿到那个 equation， 考试不会问的。我们只需要知道这个4个 equation， 而且你要背起来 v 等于 u 加 at， 这个是第一个。OK， this is the first one. And then the second one is v squared equals to u squared plus 2as. The third one, s equals to u plus v over 2t. And the last one, s equals to ut plus half at squared. 这4个 Do you need to memorize it? Yes, you need to memorize it, but you don't need to like purposely go and memorize it, because when you do a lot of exercises, automatically you will memorize it. Okay, but memorize it to easier when you solve the questions. Now I will show you how to solve questions using this 4. Really, for the horizontal linear motion, it's just all about these four equations. Okay, now let me show you one example. This equation allows us to find, let's say, a particle started from rest. Okay, the particle starts from rest and then it accelerates at an acceleration of 2 meters per second square. Okay, and then if the duration of the particle is, let's say, 8 seconds, calculate what is the distance traveled. You see, what we want to find here? The particle started at rest, and then it moves, right? It moves to the right at an acceleration of 2 in 8 seconds. We want to find what is the distance that the particle traveled in this 8 seconds. Okay, how do we find it? Now, very easy. We see, you write down what you have. Always, you go write down what you have first. Acceleration, we have 2. Time, we have 8. What else do we have? You see, 你看这个 equation 有多少个 unknown？ 1个、2个、3个、4个。如果你只有2个，你 solve 不到的，你一定要至少有3个。OK， 你要有3个你知道的 value。每一个 equation 都有 more than 3 unknowns, so you need at least 3 information here. So what is the third information? It says that the particle started at rest, right? That is hinting you. What does it say? It says that the initial velocity is 0. What is the final? The final is not stated, right? The final is over here, v, but we don't know. But it says that it is at rest. It started at rest, so u must be 0. So I write here u is 0 meter/second. Already we have 3, right? So we have ATU. What we want to find? We want to find the S, distance traveled. Okay, it's actually displacement, but it's almost the same in this case. 所以我现在是要找 S， 我有什么？我有 ATU， 这样你就选哦，你要选哪一个 ？OK， 你要选 ，of course 你要选有 S 的啦。3 ，OK， 2、3、4。Which one do I use? This one, the first one, there is no time, right? 然后这个 V 我也不知道它的 value， 所以我不可以用第二个。第三个 UT 也有这个 V， 所以我也是不能用这个，因为我不知道 V 嘛，所以我只可以用什么？我只可以用最后一个 S 等于 UT 加 half AT square。所以我这个我知道，这个我知道，这个我知道，全部我都知道。S 等于 UT 加 half AT square。Then we put in the values, right? So 因为 U 是0，所以0乘 T 整个都是变0，所以等于 half acceleration 是2，然后 T square 8 square。This one cancel 8 8 64，所以64 meter。This is your answer. Okay, so with this acceleration and in 8 seconds, how far it can achieve? 64 meter. That is the distance or the displacement traveled. Now, let's say the question want to find, okay, B, they want you to find, okay, what is the final velocity? Calculate the final velocity. Okay, then again, we write down what we know. Acceleration, 2 meter per second squared. Time, 8 seconds, U is 0 meter per second. 然后我也从刚才的问题，我找了 S 嘛，对不对？我找 S 等于64，那我就选了。这边我有了4个 information， 你用其中一个 formula 都可以，因为你已经是有完了，所以我要找的是 V。OK， 所以哪一个？那最好呢，就是你选不要用回你的自己的答案啦。如果你很 confident 你的答案 ，of course 你可以用。可是万一如果你有什么算错呢，这样你用回你的答案，它会影响你下一题，它又会影响你下一题。Okay, so I'm talking about in the exam. So the best is that you can choose the value that is definitely is correct one. So ATU. So you need ATU and V inside your equation. Which one? ATU and V, right? So the first one, ATU and V. So we use this first one. Okay, so V equals to U plus AT equals to 0加2，然后8 16 meter per second. This is your final velocity. Okay, so one of the criteria to use this formula, okay, one of the criteria to use this formula is that during the journey, the acceleration must be the same. It must be a constant acceleration. That means this value A equals to 2 cannot be changing. If the acceleration is changing, you cannot use the formula. Okay, for example, if the object moves from point A to point B with an acceleration of 2, and then move from point B to point C with an acceleration of 4, different. So you cannot use the formula. You can only calculate separately. Okay, separately. So you have to calculate A to B and then B to C separately because the acceleration value is different. And you can see this formula here, the acceleration, you can only put one value, right? Okay, so it has to be a constant acceleration here. Okay, I give you 1 minute. You can jot down what you need to jot down, and we go to the next slide. Today's lesson, it won't be a very long lesson. This one is actually more on doing. So after I finish this 1 or 2 examples, straight away I will give you exercises for you to practice, and then we'll discuss in class if you have any questions. Okay, we go to the next one. Okay, example 2. Okay, let's say we have an object started moving with with a velocity of 2 meters per second, and then it increases its speed to 18 meter/second in about 10 seconds. What is the acceleration? Okay, try it. Okay, you find the acceleration. Let me write the formula down. V equals to U plus AT, V square, U square plus 2AS. S is U plus V over 2T, UT plus half AT squared. Okay, like 你找. What is the acceleration? The object accelerate from 2 to 18 in 10 seconds. Okay, you find the acceleration and also you find the distance traveled. Okay, yes. So U is 2, V 18, time is 10. And I want to find A. Okay, so UVT, A. We use the first one. 18 equals to 2 plus A 10. 18 minus 2, 16 equals to A 10. So A equals to 16 divided by 10, 1.6 meter per second squared. OK， so 1.6 meter per second square， 然后我们找 S，OK，A 有了 ，S is which one do we use? Anyone, okay, anyone you can use. So let's say I want to use the third one. So S equals to U plus V over 2T. 2 plus 18 divided by 2 times 10 seconds. 2 plus 18, 20, 100. 100 unit in meter, because this is displacement. The displacement symbol is S, okay, but the unit is meter. All right, that's it. Now I'm going to send you a PDF, and I'm going to do it in class right now, and we will look at the questions afterwards. And also, when we're doing the questions, I will also pick a few questions out to discuss. Let me send the file first. Okay, here, this one, motion in one dimension. In the group, you can find a PDF. You try the questions. Example 1 until example 8. The answers is at the bottom. So every time you finish one question, you check your answers. If you need help, just let me know which question in the chat and we will discuss the question on the board so that everybody can kind of learn it. Okay, when you finish, you let me know. After that, I have other exercises for you also. Okay, you start doing. You manage to take down the formula. I write it here. 我们新年过后会回去做 physical class 啊，at the center。有谁不能够做 physical class 的吗？OK，全部都可以啊。I will let you know again in the WhatsApp when we go back to physical class. Anyone who is not able to do, let me know in the chat. If you're okay with it, just carry on. Two, 3, 7, 8. Okay. Is it you want to discuss this one or what? If you look at question number 2, a school bus accelerate with acceleration 4 after picking up some student at a bus stop. Calculate the velocity of the bus after 5 seconds. Okay, so it started from where? Started from the bus stop, right? So bus stop, what is the initial velocity? At rest, u is 0. And then it moves with an acceleration of 4 in a time of 5 seconds. So what is the velocity after 5 seconds? That is the final velocity, v. So the question is asking for the v. The initial velocity and the final velocity, usually the question won't state it. Seldom the question will say that the initial velocity is how much. So you need to be able to get from the statement. So it says that after picking up some students at a bus stop, so that means initially it is at rest. So u is 0. Yep, so you have a, u, t. Again, you can find the v and you can find the s. What about question 3? A long jumper was running at a velocity of 5 towards the long jump pit, needed to achieve a velocity of 10 after covering a distance of 4.5. So that means he needs to run 4.5 meter, right? So this is the track. He needs to run 4.5 meter. And then he needs to achieve 10 at the end of 4.5. So that means the speed here is 10. And he was running at first, right? He was running at first at 5. That means that is your initial 5 meter per second was running. And here is what he wants to achieve. So the speed that he wants to achieve, we will use it as our final speed, v. This is our initial speed, u, and this is our distance, s. Anybody already finished? Question number 4. Okay. Particle moving in a straight line with constant acceleration passes point P with a speed of 2. Okay, 我们先画出来先 P。有时你画出来会比较容易一点。PQ， 他讲他一来他走向 P 对吗？然后他 pass through point P at a speed of 2， 所以这里的 speed 是 2ms minus 1。然后10秒后，他再经过 Q， 这个两个的 distance 是40 meter。Find the speed of the particle as it passes point Q. That means I want to find the speed here, right? So which one is the initial, which one is the final? It says that it passes P and then 10 seconds later, right? 10 seconds later. So that means this is in 10 seconds. When I start counting the time, it was at P, the 2 meter per second. Okay, and then after 10 seconds, I press, it reached Q. This velocity is the final velocity. So U 是等于2 S 是等于40 T 是等于10你找 V。 第7题 retardation 是 deceleration 呢？它另外一个 term 就是 deceleration 的意思，是 same thing。How do you know number 7? According to highway code, a car traveling at 20 requires minimum braking distance of 30. What retardation is this? And what length of time will it take? That means if the car was to brake, initially it is here, traveling at 20 meters per second. And the braking distance, if it's 30 meters, okay, how much time it needs? So that means that you need to find the T and also what length of time, okay, only the T, right, you want to find, and also the acceleration. Because the question asking for the deceleration. Now, if the car were to brake and completely stop, right? So the final, you see the final velocity is not given, right? You have the U20. U is 20. But how about the V? The V did not mention, but here it says requires a braking distance of 30, meaning that by 30 meter, it would have come to a stop here. Okay, here the V would be 0 meter per second. This is not given, right? So you have to kind of get the hint from the questions. The question is always like that. The more you do, you will see the pattern. Okay, here. The V, you have to find it yourself. So V is 0. It takes 30 meter to brake, and you want to find the time, you want to find the acceleration. This is for question 7. Huh? Okay, so 3 information we have, we can find the, let's find the A first. We got S, we got U, we got V. V squared, U squared plus 2AS. Zero square equals to 20 square plus 2A30. So 0 equals to 400 plus 60A. And whole minus 400 equals to 60A. A equals to minus 400. 6.67 meter per second square. It is a negative, right? You have a negative. Right? Why you have a negative? Because it is decelerating. So your answer, you get a negative. Okay. So negative acceleration means that the acceleration is pointing to the left side. So the car is moving to the right, but the acceleration is pointing to the left. That means it is slowing down. The last question, huh? We look at number 8. Huh? Okay, a car being driven along a road at a steady 25 meters per second. When the driver suddenly notices that there is a fallen tree blocking the road. Okay. When he notices the fallen tree, what is the distance? The distance is 65, right? Meter. The driver immediately applies the brakes, giving the car a constant retardation. Okay, so retardation is deceleration, right? So we have to take a negative. A is equals to -5 meter per second square, right? Because the car is moving to the right, so to decelerate, the acceleration has to be negative. How far in front of the tree does the car come to rest? OK， 意思是说它 decelerate，OK， 它踩它的 brake， 然后 somewhere here， 它停下来 ，v 等于0。它要你的找的就是它停下来过后，它这边的 distance 是多少 ？OK 啊，所以现在我们有什么？我们有 velocity u 等于25，那个是 initial， 然后它 brake 嘛，对不对？到最后它是停下来，所以我们拿 v 等于0。然后你看这个 v 等于0没有给你嘛，对不对 ？question 里面没有给你，所以这个你要自己找出来，不然你永远会觉得好像少了一些东西。Okay, so v is 0, and then what else? Acceleration is -5 meter per second square. You have to put a negative because if you don't put a negative, it's like increasing velocity. Okay, find the S. V square equals to U square plus 2AS. 0, 25 square plus -5S. Okay, this one I move it here. -625 equals to -10S. So S equals to 62.5 meter. Is this the answer? You see, what is this S? This S is the moment when he pressed the brake until when he is at rest, when the driver is at rest. Okay, so starting from here, somewhere here, this is the distance that you are finding, the S. Okay, so 62.5 meter. What is this distance? 65 minus 62.5 equals to 2.5. So after he come to a stop, he is 2.5 meter in front of the fallen tree. Okay, so tip about the U and the V, usually they are not stated. Initial velocity 跟 final velocity 通常它都不会讲出来的，你要自己知道。如果它讲 decelerate， 哦，这样它可能 final velocity 是0。如果它讲 start from rest， 哦，这样它的 U 就是0。 所以你每次 solve question 的时候啊，如果你看到有像类似这样子的 question，就是很像，比如说他给你 acceleration，他给你 initial velocity，他给你 final，他叫你找 time 啊，这样你就知道一定是这个 equation of motion 的 question 来的。OK， 你要讲 solve，你就用你的 V 等于 U 加 AT the four formulas that you have。Right, so example 1 to example 8 finished。有什么分别啊？如果你 solve let's say 啊，比如说之前我们学了 average velocity 对吗？let's say 如果我讲一个 object，它从 A 走去 B，然后 distance 是50 kilometers in 2 hours。If I want to calculate the speed of the object, how do you calculate the speed from A to B? We just use simple calculation. V equals to displacement over time, right? So 50 divided by 2. That's 25 kilometer/hour. 我这样子的算法，这个 velocity 是什么 velocity？ 这个是 average velocity 或者 average speed， 因为你在把 total distance 除以 total time。So average speed 就是 total distance 除以 total time。Now， 可是如果你走从 A 去 B， 你算到的这个 speed 25，不代表你每一时每一刻都在走25，对吗？你不可能2个钟里面你都是 maintain 25 km per hour 的吗？有时候你增加减少，所以如果我要找 let's say 在那个 journey 里面 let's say over here what is your speed？ 你要讲找这个呢？这个就是我们用现在你学到的这一个 equation of motion 来找。In other words, this is to use to find the instantaneous velocity。所以你要知道咯，你的 initial velocity 是多少 u， 然后你要知道你的 time 是多少 t， 可能你的 acceleration a， 你有你的 UTA，then 你就可以找你的 v 在这一个点。Okay, any point in the journey you can find using the equations of motion。这个4个我们叫它 equations of motion。Okay, these 4 formulas, equations of motion. Okay, so that's why 我们有 final 跟 initial. This allow us to find what? Instantaneous velocity. 就是在那一秒的 velocity 是多少？2个不同的 calculation， 一个是 average speed， 平时我们做的是 average speed 吗 ？OK， 可是这个是 instantaneous， 明白吗？Question 6, OK。A particle start from rest. Okay, so this one tells you u is 0 and moves with constant acceleration 0.5. So a is 0.5 in a straight line. Find the time it takes to travel a distance of 8 meters. S is 8 meters. Okay, if I draw it out, then the particle start from here, u equals to 0. Move with an acceleration of 0.5 in a straight line, and then it traveled 8 meters. Okay, what do we want to find here? Find the time it takes, right? Find the time it takes to travel 8 meters. So we want to find the t here. We got S, we got A, we got U. Find the t, which one do we use? S equals to UT plus half AT squared. Okay, so U 等于0，这个整个等于0哦，所以 S 等于 half AT squared。8 meter equals to half 0.5，然后 T square。Okay, times 2, 16 equals to 0.5 T square. T square equals to, divided by 0.5, you get 32. And T square root 5.66 second. You 谁做完了的吗？ Okay, Adriel. Okay, 你们可以 try 这个 question 8。 You try question 8 and question 9, and we will look at the solution later. I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Go to the bathroom first. Okay, let's look at the answers. Or you need a bit more time. Okay, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes to look at answers.
Since I had it.
Okay, let's look at the solution before we end the lessons. Question 8 first. Okay, particle is projected away from origin O, initial velocity. Okay, this one is top, given 0.25. The particle travel in a straight line, accelerate 1.5. How far the particle is from O after 3 seconds? Okay, so we have A, T, 3 seconds, 0.25. Acceleration is 1.5. Find S. Okay, S 等于 UT plus half AT square. Three seconds square. So you calculate this, get 7.5. Okay, so the answer for A is 7.5. B, the distance traveled by the particle during the 4th second after projection. Now, 你看这个他要找什么？他要找单单第4秒 the 4th second. So how do we find that? You see, when I put t equals to 3 seconds, right? The distance that I get is from the starting, remember. 它 origin 是从这边开始，它是算我是在算着它在3秒里面，它走了多远 ？OK， 就是 7.5。如果我要算在第4秒，它是走多远？不是前4秒啊，是在单单第4秒，意思说第3秒的开始到第4秒，单单这1秒 ，OK。所以我要讲算呢，我要先算从0去到第4秒，对吗 ？t 等于4 second， 这个的 distance 是多少？然后我用第4秒减掉我的第3秒，这一个是我要算的 distance。D， 也就是讲这个 distance 是 the distance traveled in the 4th second。Okay, there's a difference. The distance traveled, let me write it down here. Distance traveled in the 4th second compared to in 4 seconds. There's a difference between these two. Okay, so that means we calculate again. T, this time we take 4 seconds. U 等于 0.25， 然后 A 等于 1.5， 然后我要找 S。Okay, so S 等于 0.25 4加 1.54 square。你算这个，我们找到13 meter。13 meter 这个是什么 distance？ 这个是从0秒到4秒，13 meter。Okay, so if you want the 4th second, then we will take 13 meter minus 7.5 meter. What do we get? 5.5. This is your answer. OK， 因为记得那个 S 是什么？那个 S 是 displacement 来的。displacement 意思就是说，它是永远 measured from origin。OK， 所以如果你算到 7.5， 这个是 measured from origin。OK， 我们接下来我们看最后一题，第9题。You can take a screenshot and I will erase this one. When time equals to 0, the body is projected from origin O with initial velocity 10, okay, u. The body moved along a straight line with a constant acceleration of -2. Okay, let's draw it out. Started from origin, and then it start moving here. Okay, what is the acceleration? -2. -2. Okay, so you can say that it is slowing down, right? Because it's deceleration. So u is 10. And then what do we want to find? Find the displacement of the body from O when t equals to 10 seconds. Okay, so we have t 10 seconds, u, oops, this one should be 7 seconds, not 10 seconds, 7 seconds. U is 10 meter per second, A is -2 meter per second squared. Okay, we want to find the S. Again, we use the same formula, S equals to ut plus half AT squared. Okay, so 10, 7, 减要放进去啊，这个 A 减2，然后7 square。OK， 算这个我们拿到21米的，这个是9A， 所以我把这个放进来，这边是它 travel 21米的。OK， 在多少秒？在7秒里面，7秒，在7秒 after 7秒啊，它的 displacement 是在21米的 ，to the right side of the origin。Now B, how far from O does the body come to instantaneous rest? And what is the value of T? Come to instantaneous rest, that means 你要找当它停下来的时候，它的 displacement 是多少？所以9B V 它停下来对吗？所以 final velocity 一定是0哦。OK， 我们要找的是 OK， 我们有 V 等于0，我们有 U 等于10，我们用回之前的，然后我们有 A 等于减2 just last second。OK， 那我们要找的是什么？时间，还有它的 displacement。OK， 这个时间不是这个7秒啊，不是这个7秒啊，因为它在这边，它还没有停止。我们要找是它停的时候，它的时间是多少 ？OK， so S equals to UT plus half AT squared equals to 10, 5, oops, sorry. I find the time first. Let me do it again. I find the time first. So V equals to U plus AT. Okay, so 0 equals to 10 plus minus 2t. 时间是5秒。OK 啊，5秒。然后 distance 做这个 SUT plus half AT squared. 10, and then we put the time in. We already have the time. 5 seconds plus minus 2 and 5 squared. 算这个，我们拿到25 meter。OK， 那你看这边，当 V 是0的时候，时间是多少？5秒。它的 distance 是在哪里？它的这个 displacement， 我们算到这个25 meter 吗？ Is 25 to the right of origin, right? So if I draw it out further than this one, right? But that means somewhere here, when it is s equals to 25 meter, this is where it is at instantaneous rest. And the time is, what is the time? 5 seconds. 你看那个图啊，为什么在5秒，它的 displacement 是25这样远，可是在7秒，它的 displacement 是21，比这个还短。不是应该 suppose 是7秒更远的吗？因为如果它是一直走向右边的话，是你5秒跟7秒，7秒一定是走到比较远的嘛，对不对？可是你看这个7秒是21米的，这个5秒是25米的，意思是说那个 object 它走去这一边，然后它做什么？它走回来。OK 啊，如果我放3个 point 啊 ，O、A、B， 首先它从 O 走去 A， 用了5秒 ，OK， 然后它的 distance travel 是多少？它的 distance travel 是25米的 ，OK， 或者你可以讲它的 current displacement， 它的 displacement 是25米的 from 它的 starting point， 这边是25，然后过后呢，下2秒它走从 A 走回去 B， 因为在第7秒的时候，它是在 B， 看到吗 ？OK， 在5秒它在 A， 在第7秒它在 B， 所以证明是说它走回头这边 ，OK， so this is the motion of the object. Based on your calculation, you can plot out what is the object doing, what is the motion of the object. So at time 7 seconds, it is much closer to the origin compared to at time 5 seconds. So that is why this is 21 and this is 25. So that answers the last questions. The last question asks, find the distance traveled by the body during the time interval of 0 to 7 seconds. 你要找的是 distance travel from 0 to 7 seconds. 所以 distance 就是 length of path travel. 前5秒它从 O 走去 A， 那个是25米的。再多后2秒 ，OK， 到7秒，它从 A 走回去 B， 这个 distance 是多少 ？A 跟 B 这个是25减掉21，所以你把25米的加4米的，你的答案是29米的。This is the distance travel. Okay, so that is for 9C. Take note for this question. 小心，有时候 particle 可以走回来，走回来。所以你要怎样知道呢？如果你算到你的时间 t 是 ，let's say t 是5秒，你算到你的 displacement 是100 ，positive 100，意思说在5秒，你是在100 meter to the right side of the starting point, right？ 然后你刚好你又算到 t 等于10秒，突然间它是50 meter。意思什么意思呢？意思说在第12秒的时候在第12秒的时候，它是比较靠近我，在第5秒它比较远，在第12秒它比较靠近我，代表什么意思？意思说它走向那边，它又走回来了。OK， 它又走回来这边。So 在第10秒它是50 meter to the right side of the starting point. Okay, guys, we will stop here. and we will continue next week. Okay, so thank you class, and you can log out.